am Torstein from Cinema Terror, and here I am presenting another top 10 list, and this time we are going into the interesting year of 1983. In popular culture, we had Michael Jackson ruling the world of music, A-Team was big on TV, and when it came to the movies, we had the forever classic Scarface being released worldwide. When it came to horror films though, this year failed to follow up the great years that was before it. While there are classics upon classics in the other previous years of the 80s, this list does not exactly have that. That's not to say that the ones on top of the list aren't worthy of being called classics, but just overall this list is a bit lacking compared to the first 3 years of the decade. There are still plenty of good stuff here though, so without further ado, here is my list of the top 10 horror films of 1983. And first up, we have The Deadly Spawn. Now I'm not gonna call this film a great film, but my gosh, it's a lot of fun. It is a low-budget sci-fi horror film shot on 16mm with plenty of guts and gore in it. It feels a bit ahead of its time, and I'm sure that's not something that this movie has been called a lot of times, but it feels like a late 80s feature, when gory special effects was enough to give a film some recognition. It also has one of the coolest VHS covers ever made, and I'm proud to have the original pre-cert Vipco tape in my very own collection. It's not for everyone, but fans of gory B-movies should have a lot of fun with The Deadly Spawn. While The Deadly Spawn felt like a late 80s movie, The Sole Survivor rather feels like a late 70s film. This one feels like a mixture of the later successful films Final Destination and It Follows. Some of the scenes in this film are creepy and excellently executed, while the rest of it feels a bit unengaging and slow. If you don't mind a slower feature though, then this is definitely worth checking out. I've also done a full review of this film on my channel, so take a look at that video if you want more of my opinion on it. Nightmares is another film I've done a full movie review of for this channel. This one is an anthology film with 4 different stories in it, told by director Joseph Sargent. It was originally made for TV, so you won't find a lot of violence or gore here or any nudity. Instead you will get some original stories that are all solid, with actors like Lance Henriksen, Veronica Cartwright and even Emilio Estevez showing up. It is more like the anthologies from the Amicus Productions than Creepshow, but if you like anthology films then make sure you hunt this one down. Christine is the first of several Stephen King adaptations on this list. Taking a Stephen King story and putting it in the hands of John Carpenter sounds like a must-win, right? Well, I've never actually been that big of a fan of Christine, even though I enjoy the work of King, and I think that Carpenter is one of the best directors to have ever blessed us with films. That being said, there is hardly any way to make a film involving a killer car and a douchebag of a leading character any better than this. Carpenter does an excellent job here and makes this become better than what the story really deserves, and that's why it gets the number 7 spot. Here we have another Stephen King adaptation with The Dead Zone. This is also directed by Master, as the director of this one is none other than David Cronenberg, who had a great year with the release of both this film and another one that we might just get to later on this list. The Dead Zone has Christopher Walken in his prime as the leading character Johnny Smith. It has an interesting story and is told very well. It also spawned a television show in the early 2000s with the same title. It is not the best King adaptation or the best Cronenberg movie, but it is absolutely worth giving a watch. The Hunger is an erotic horror film by Tony Scott, featuring the likes of David Bowie, Catherine Deneuve and Susan Sarandon. Usually vampire movies with a more erotic tone to them are relegated to be B-movies, but that's clearly not the case with The Hunger. The film relies a great deal on its dark atmosphere and perhaps failed to make the story itself become the centerpiece. The performances are excellent though, and especially Sarandon will make you lust after biting her delicious neck. The Hunger might not be a pure horror film, but it still deserves the number 5 spot on this list. Cujo is the 3rd Stephen King adaptation on this list and my favorite out of the bunch. Cujo puts a rabid dog against the underrated Scream Queen, Dee Wallace, and her unscreened son. Peter Medak was originally supposed to direct this film but left the production close to filming. Levis Teague has stepped in on very short notice and did a commendable job. The film relies a lot on Dee Wallace and she as always delivers. If you have kids and they love the Beethoven family movies, then make sure you show them this one. Cujo is a solid film. Psycho 2 came out 23 years after the original by Alfred Hitchcock scared audiences everywhere, giving us Norman Bates in the midst of the slasher boom that dominated the early 80s, and even if it does include some violence, it is still very much a character-driven movie. They did not exploit the fame of the original and managed to bring the story forward in a natural way, all while showing a tremendous respect for the original. I saw this for the first time due to making this list actually. I was surprised that this isn't talked about more often, as Psycho 2 is a very good film and a fantastic sequel. You don't even have to love or even seen the first one to enjoy Psycho 2, although of course it helps and you should see the first one by all means. Psycho 2 is great, and now I can't wait to see the third one, which I haven't gotten around to yet. David Cronenberg shows up for the second time on this list, this time with his magnificent Videodrome. This is not a film that is easy to explain or even praise in a short summary. It's surreal, engaging, intense, and I can't really compare it to any other movie out there, except for another one from Cronenberg's filmography called Existence. As most weird movies does, it did poorly at the box office upon release, but its reputation has kept growing over the years and it's now considered to be an excellent film from the very twisted mind of Cronenberg. And at number 1 we have Sleepaway Camp. Perhaps the most 80s out of the bunch is also the one I consider to be the best of the year. It was made during the slasher boom, but even with plenty of others coming out every month, it still manages to set itself apart, which is not an easy task considering it takes place in a very familiar location of a summer camp. For once, the kids are actually played by kids, but even if it has a very young cast, the kills are still vicious and violent. If you are a fan of slasher films, then this is of course a must-see film. It is a highlight of the subgenre and it definitively deserves to be the number 1 on the top 10 horror movies of 1983. So, that's my list. What did you think of it and how would your list look like? Any movies you feel that I overlooked? Any of these you haven't seen? I'd love to read your comment, a like would be appreciated, and subscribe for more horror related stuff, including more lists like this coming to the channel in the near future. Thank you for watching.